Okay, it's time to talk about The Walking Dead. It happened. Rick is done. And so is Maggie. That was it. Um, okay, so much of this episode dealt with Rick in peril, and there were a lot of callbacks to Rick's first episode. Him hallucinating himself being in the hospital again, the fact that Rick was once again riding a horse, Rick was searching for his family. Um, so this is going on, and it was really a Rick driven episode, an homage to this unkillable Rick Grimes. Now I gotta say, I'm kind of surprised that it happened so early on in the season. I thought they would save it at least for the mid-season finale, because that's something Walking Dead is famous for, right? When they kill off a major character or a major character has to go, it usually happens at the end of the season or the mid-season finale. So for them to do it in episode 5 is pretty early on. Now, this is what I found kind of disappointing about it. So Rick is trying to lead the herd of zombies away from his people, even as he's, hallucinating, wanting to find his family. And he finally gets to his bridge, and which I call Rick's big Ahab moment. And he gets out across the bridge, and the bridge isn't breaking. It's actually holding on to the weight of the zombies, which is not what he thought would happen. So Daryl is shooting his arrow, killing zombies as they approach Rick, and Michonne and Maggie run around to the other side. They're trying to create a distraction so that Rick doesn't get overwhelmed by this horde, and Rick chooses instead to sacrifice himself and blow up the bridge to stop the zombies reaching his people. Epic special effects. They spent some money. Okay, so by all law of physics, gravity, nature, I don't give a shit what law you pick, Rick Grimes should have died in that explosion. That should have been it. He should have gone out in a big fiery ball and all of us mourning Rick Grimes. Of course, this is not what happens. Rick gets pulled out of the river and he's flown away in a helicopter. So now he's out there. Reason for this? It turns out that AMC has decided to make Walking Dead movies, and Andrew Lincoln is signed up to do 3 of them. This is what I'm thinking. I'm thinking that the ratings are starting to slip for Walking Dead, and they have for a little while, but this is what happens when you start to cannibalize your characters and don't build anything. People are getting sick of it. So I think the Walking Dead movies they're sort of their backstop, right? Because for AMC, The Walking Dead has been their biggest success to date, and they don't want to let go of that money. So they're going to make these movies, and it allows Andrew Lincoln to be around because part of the reason he left is because he wanted to spend more time with his family, right? So we're going to have to find out what happens to Rick. And to do that, you have to watch these movies. I get why they did it, but it feels like another cash grab from The Walking Dead, and I'm really kind of sick of it. The books, the comics, the show, and now movies, and it's too much. It's really, really too much. I mean, me personally, I've gotten to the point where I will not read another Walking Dead book. I don't care. I can't do it. You can't force feed me this crap anymore. It's just a cash grab at this point. And that's exactly what it feels like not having Rick die on that bridge like he should have died. Um so there's that. I mean, we get a little flash forward and to 7 years in the future, and Judith is picking up the Grimes mantle. She's got the sheriff's hat, she's got her gun, and she shoots zombies, and she's the little ass kicker that we knew that she would be, right? And The Walking Dead is again evolving, and the clips look like they're bringing in the Whisperers, who you'll be familiar with if you've read the comics. I won't say anything else because spoilers. Um, but that's what we're doing now, it seems. Uh, It was also Maggie's last episode, I believe, which is kind of sad. Um, with Lauren, there was a contract dispute, and by the time they got around to it again, she'd already signed with another show. So I know that the forerunners for The Walking Dead had wanted to leave Maggie's storyline open so that she could come back. So Maggie's big moment is her confrontation with Negan, who, when she first sees Negan, he starts off being the Negan that we know. But by the time Maggie drags him out of his cell and demands that he get on his knees, it's clear that Negan is a broken man and he wants to die. He's had enough. He wants to be with his wife, Lucille. And Maggie is going to give him that comfort. You know, she tells him that she came here to kill Negan and he's not here. And that's a pretty accurate assessment. I will say, though, it had me thinking more deeply about solitary confinement and how this is a kind of torture, right? So there is Rick thinking that he's locking Negan up and this is justice, right? For everything that Negan has done. But he's actually, if you think about it, by putting Negan in this position, he's actually torturing him. How often does Negan actually get to interact with another human being? We know he's certainly not touching anybody, and touch is necessary for mental health, right? Just to have, even if someone just touches your shoulder, you need this sort of thing as a human being. So locking him up, which would be 20 more than likely 24 hours a day, we never see Negan actually leave his cell or have any outside time or any time to interact with anybody else. He's actually torturing Negan. It's not put that way. It's made to seem like it's benign, but at the end of the day, it really, really isn't. So it's not a surprise that Negan broke. That is exactly what human beings do when they're isolated from the company of other human beings. It's not nearly as kind as I think Nick, as kind, excuse me, as Rick sort of cast it to be or suggested it to be, or anyone in the community believes, right? So seeing Negan broken just seems like this is the way it's supposed to be. um so yeah, things are kind of up in the air with Maggie. We'll see if they manage to get her to come back and do some more. We did have a couple cameos. The one that hit me the most was Herschel because, Scott Walker died last month, and I was watching that thinking, I'm really glad that he got to come back and do that one last time before he passed on. It was actually a little emotional to see him again, and it's a reminder of all the people that we've lost. Even Shane, getting into the police car with Shane. Um, I remember writing about him and saying Shane, who isn't dead yet, because I really felt he overstayed his welcome on the show. But it seemed fitting to see him there again and see Shane pointing out that Judith is actually his daughter and Rick agreeing, at least admitting it. But it doesn't matter at the end of the day where these people come from. To Rick, they're all his family, all of them, everyone that he's lost, all the people that are in his community now, they're all part of the Grimes family. And that's why he could sacrifice himself for them. For the longest time, Rick's motivation was just Carl, right? Saving Carl. What would he do without Carl? Carl was Rick's reason to live. But at the end of the day, it turned out Rick's reason to die was his family. Rick's reason to make the ultimate sacrifice was his family. And I think it's a kind of testament to how close these people have become after everything that they have gone through over the years. Now, um, storytelling, I don't really think this is a great episode. Um, Maybe it's because I'm irked that Rick died. I don't think it was a really great episode. Um, and if this is really and truly the end for Maggie, I really don't think it was a good episode. Uh, I think that The Walking Dead does better when it's actually telling a story and not trying to wring every last dollar that it can out of its fans. Um, and maybe for me, this is really the beginning of the end. I really think it's the beginning of the end. I think this episode is going to turn off a lot of people that were just barely hanging on, but we'll see how it goes at the end of the season.